Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and thanks a lot for checking today's video out. And today we're going to be talking about the effect that rising water has on bass in the spring. You know, it's springtime of the year, we get a lot of rain. In fact, one of the reasons I wanted to do the video is I'm heading up to Lake of the Ozarks right now. We got a BFL tournament there on Saturday, and we're expecting like 4 inches of rain in the next couple days, so I thought it'd be a good time to talk about what rising water does to fish. And also I'll give my first day practice report this afternoon after I get off the water today, so hopefully by Saturday we can all learn something about what I did right or wrong in the tournament. So hey guys, real quick before we get started, you know, today's the first day of the Bassmaster Classic, and I just wanted to remind everybody, if you guys are at the Classic or around there and you're going to go to the outdoor show, that Baitworks has got a booth there. I think it's 4106 or 4601. I can't remember which one. But man, go by and check them out. Tell them I said hey. They got all the Blockhead Old School jigs there. Just going to be a great place to buy some tackle if you're in that area. So much appreciated. Okay guys, rising water in the springtime of the year. Now, a lot of times, you know, you're going to really love it or hate it depending upon your style as an angler. And I think a lot of it, you know, depends on, you know, there's a lot of different variables. It depends on if it's good or not, or how to approach it. And one of the things you'll find out about bass fishing is that we would like things to stay the same all the time and consistent, but the conditions are always changing. Water levels, water clarity, water temperatures, always changing. And part of the thing about becoming a good bass angler is you got to learn how those changes affect the bass and how to make adjustments to catch those fish. And a lot of it is, you know, it's trial and error, but I want to give you guys sort of some basic foundational tips on how to deal with rising water if you got a lot of rain coming in and your lake's coming up. So first of all, a lot of it has to do with the type of lake that you're fishing. Now, most lakes that have a significant rise in water level are going to be your man-made impoundments. If you guys that fish natural bodies of water, like in Florida or up north or something like that, you're not going to see the water fluctuation levels like you do in man-made impoundments. And depending upon where you're at, I mean, those fluctuations can be tremendous. I mean, we have a lake here on the Missouri-Arkansas border, Bull Shoals Lake, and it can fluctuate 35 feet a year. Some of the California lakes will fluctuate, you know, 100 feet. It just depends upon how the lake's set up. But regardless, every lake, the bass will do something specific on a rise, or, you know, or rising dirtier water. A lot of it depends on how fast the rise comes up and how the water clarity is affected by it. Water clarity has a big role as far as how you approach rising water, because if you have a lake that is normally stained and dirty and you got a fast rise coming up, sometimes that can be some of the toughest fishing, because if you've got low visibility to begin with and then you lose that visibility that's already low, a lot of times those bass are extremely hard to catch. And in those situations, if you guys are fishing a off-colored water lake and the water comes up, one of the things that you have to do is you sort of have to look for cleaner water. Now, this is not the case in other water clarity lakes, but a dirty lake, say for example, if the water visibility in your lake is under 2 foot all the time, even when it's at the clearest, and you get a big rise and it starts to dirty the water up, you got to look for those clear water areas. Now, those clear water areas can come in a wide variety of places. They can come like in, you know, little backwater areas. Sometimes they can come in the upper creek arms. You know, the upper creek arms are some of the first places to clean up after you do get a hard rain. You know, you'll have runoff coming in, and initially that runoff is dirty, and that dirty water filters down through the lake as they pull current, and then the upper tributaries and those runoffs are the first places that actually clean up. So sometimes you can go like to the back of the creeks and get into cleaner water even if the main lake is done. But specifically in the springtime of the year, if you're fishing that dirty water lake, you know, look for the water clarity that gets closer to what it originally is, and you're going to catch a lot more fish like that. Now, if you're in a lake that has a little bit cleaner water, anywhere between, like, if you say water visibility of over 3 or 4 feet most of the time, and even clearer, this can be a really good thing. Dirty water coming into a clear water lake in the springtime of the year, it can bring a lot of big fish shallow. And you've heard a lot of talk about people saying, well, I'm going to fish the runoff. And yeah, this is a good pattern, but it's very, very short-lived. It's like, say for example, if the lake is normal and all of a sudden you get this big giant rain coming in, and say you get 4 or 5 inches of rain in one day, and the back of all these tributaries and creeks, they start to get runoff and muddy up. Excuse me. That could work for maybe like a day, maybe a day and a half. What happens as the volume of water decreases coming into those areas, and that water starts to clean up a little bit, that goes away real quick. So there's been very few situations, guys, where you can capitalize on multiple days with runoff fish. It's usually a one day and then it's done type of a deal. But what happens on a cleaner water lake is if you get a significant rise in the water, and we'll talk about cover here in a second, but let's talk about clarity now. If you get a significant rise and it dirties that lake up, again, that's going to bring a lot of better fish up shallower where they normally don't live. I mean, if you've got a lake like, Bull Shoals Lake or Table Rock, or, maybe a lake like Lake Cumberland or something like that, and where normally you don't have a lot of big fish up and shallow in certain areas, when you have a rise, a lot of times that can push those bigger fish up shallow very quickly. But again, and this is sort of like a paradox and a complicated deal, it depends on how quick it's rising. If you have a very, very fast rise where the water's coming up a lot really quick, a lot of times those better fish will not move up right off the bat with that. They stay on the old original shoreline. And that's why you hear a lot of guys talking about the original shoreline. I'll give you guys an example. I fished a tournament at Kentucky Lake. God, it's been probably 25 years ago. And we had one of those situations. The lake flooded out, came up super high, and it came up and got into the flooded bushes. And I'm like licking my chops, pulling out my flipping stick, and I couldn't get a dang bite flipping bushes. The water temperature was 60 degrees. There was, 7 and 8 foot of water in the bushes, and I could not get bit. And as it wound out, the guys that caught the tournament, guys that did well in the tournament, they caught them Carolina rigging out like in 12 to 15 feet of water in front of the bushes where the original shoreline was, which doesn't make any sense to me. If I was a bass, I would want to be up in that flooded cover. But that is a reality that you see on a lot of lakes. Now, conversely on that is if you have like a slow to moderate rise, say you get a week where it's raining steady, but it's not like raining super hard, but the lakes are steadily coming up, and say you have a lake that is experiencing like a 1 to 2 foot rise per week. Something like that is more apt to get those fish to move up shallow into the flooded cover than like a super, super fast rise where the lake is coming up, 2-3 feet a day like that. So it's sort of a complicated deal. I've never been to a lake where you got a rising water from a lot of rain and where it's just the same predictable thing all the time. Again, a lot of it has to do with the water temperature, when the lake's coming up and how quick it's coming up, sometimes, and the type of cover that you have. I mean, if you have a real, significant rise, a lot of times those bass will get into areas that they never, and they'll get into parks, and they'll get into playgrounds, and they'll get into people's backyards around people's bird bass. I mean, I've caught them off of picnic tables many times at Table Rock Lake, concrete picnic tables. So the main thing is that when the water comes up, guys, it requires a lot of work, because first of all, you got to sample a lot of the lake to see what the situation is. You got to sample the lake to see what cover's available and to basically see the water visibility. That's a big key. It's like, certain areas of the lake are going to be more affected at certain times. You may have one part of the lake that is clean one day and it's going to be dirty the next as they pull water through it. So it requires a lot of open-mindedness and moving around and checking different parts of the lake out. But I like it because a lot of times, like I said, you can pick up a big spinnerbait or a flipping stick and just have a great time when the water comes up in the spring. But it's one of the more complicated aspects of fishing. Don't think that it's easy, because it's not. And another thing about it, it's all guesswork, because here, like at Lake of the Ozarks, and I'll sort of give you what I'm thinking about now here at Lake of the Ozarks, it's supposed to rain 4 inches the next 2 days. So the Lake of the Ozarks doesn't fluctuate like super significant like a lot of lakes. I mean, it'll have a 2 to 3 foot fluctuation is pretty major on the lake. But what you do have is you have a lot of water clarity changes. So say, for example, if I go up in one part of the lake today and I'm catching, and the water visibility is 2.5 or 3 feet, and I'm catching them on a jerkbait, come Saturday morning, the water visibility may be 6 inches where I'm fishing, because you have a lot of water getting pulled through the impoundment. So that is the biggest challenge right there with a lake coming up, is the changes in water clarity. And a lot of times that will completely turn the fish off, or it will keep them biting, but you got to adjust with different techniques. So anyway, just sort of a wide-ranging little discussion there. I'll keep you guys updated on the rising water here at Lake of the Ozarks and how I've decided to approach it. And again, I'll give you guys a update here this afternoon on the first practice day. So thanks for tuning in. See you guys.